We have already covered so many aspects of authorization and authentication. I mean, think about it. We've talked about domain environments where we would create a user account in the domain. The user would log in as that user account for authentication and get the authorization based on the Windows Server settings for their user account. We've talked about home groups. We've talked about work groups. But let's cover some odds and ends in this area that we have not discussed up to this point. Remember, there are many creative ways that you can sign in to a Windows 10 system these days. And obviously, we could control what options are available for our users using group policy, by the way, because some of these you might not like at all. If you go into the accounts area, notice there's the sign in options. We can require our users to sign in again when the PC wakes up from sleep. That's a nice security feature, obviously. The other thing that can be done is Windows Hello. This is facial recognition. And notice, since I don't have a camera on this device, it won't let me turn this on. I do this on my Surface Book, though, which has that front-facing camera, and it works great. Occasionally, if I have my glasses on or a hat, it won't recognize me, but you can literally add images of yourself with the glasses or hat on, so it will recognize you. So Windows Hello is an option with a camera. Notice the password, obviously, for changing the account password, logging in with a PIN number, and then this one's super interesting, a picture password. So on touchscreen devices, you could go and you could add this. First, I need to provide my password so I can manipulate these settings. And then notice it brings up a picture and then you use gestures on that picture in order to sign in. A lot of people are not going to like this. In fact, it could literally be hacked just by the smudges that are on the screen, right? If you have to do a circle and then like a dash, someone could see those smudges and realize that's your login. Again, fun stuff to do in lower security environments. And then finally, we have this privacy setting here that will show our account details like email address on sign-in screen. And this is certainly a good idea to have off because we don't want our email address readily visible when someone, picks up our device. Now, if you want to get super secure with sign-in, you could use a Microsoft account, even in the home environment, and you could require like dual authentication. This is called the Microsoft Passport feature. What this requires, as I alluded to, is a Microsoft account. Notice I have this dummy account right here that I'm using as a Microsoft account. So I could add to this like the hello feature with a PIN number, for instance. So now I have to have my Microsoft account, my password, it has to be my face, and I have to know the PIN number. So the Microsoft Passport feature is available with Microsoft accounts and could make login very, very secure. Now, what authentication information is being cached on your Windows 10 system? Well, to find out, you would go into Control Panel and go to the Credential Manager. The Credential Manager is going to have two areas. It's going to have Windows cached credentials, and it's going to have web cached credentials. So when one of your users says, yeah, go ahead and save my password on a website, that is going to be available to you to manage inside of Credential Manager. Now, there's three other authentication and authorization features that I want to discuss with you that are really enterprise features. So you'd need like Windows 10 Enterprise Edition to take advantage of this. You need to be in an Active Directory domain. And these things require like the latest BIOS, which is Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, or UEFI type of launching of the device. All of these features would require secure boot functionality. Some of these, like these two, are going to require the TPM module be in place in the machine. So we have these robust requirements that are needed for these features, and it's because they really add to security. What Credential Guard does is it helps secure the login process to Active Directory. This uses Kerberos and hashing and things of that nature. There are some vulnerabilities to that, and Credential Guard works to guard against them. The Device Guard feature dictates what apps users can run in the enterprise environment. So this is cool, and you can enforce apps to be digitally signed. Finally, Device Health Attestation, I think I'm pronouncing that right, attestation, well, Whatever, you get the idea. This feature is going to ensure that devices that are attempting to come into the Active Directory domain meet certain guidelines. So this is a network authentication control or network access control type of technology. You gotta love it. So these are advanced features, and you just need to know of them, as you might guess, for the exam environment, and you do not, I repeat, you do not need to configure these things. How do you think they're configured though? Well, of course, it's group policy objects that are going to be key to pushing down rules like this to your Active Directory users. So authorization and authentication, we touched on some points in this nugget that we really hadn't elaborated on in other places of the course. As you know, authentication and authorization really presented themselves again and again in various nuggets, especially when we were talking about initial setup, for instance, of Windows 10 systems. I hope you found this nugget informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.